Welcome back. So our next stop on this journey is understanding and learning more about hubs. Hubs play an essential role in remapping the patient journey. Hubs are a combination of people and technology, and they know where all those pitfalls, all those roadblocks, all those wrong turns are. And they're there to assist the patient and the prescriber in helping that patient get started on therapy. They're an essential advocate in shortening that time to therapy and decreasing the abandonment rate. They're an essential part of this process and the journey. So we're going to learn more about that next. Before we start, we're going to put up a poll again to learn a little bit about what the hubs do. So for a specialty medication, how much time can a technology-enabled patient solution reduce start time? That time to therapy is really essential. It's something everyone is focused on. Again, as we've heard this morning, that time is fraught with faxes and phone calls and information asymmetry. So hubs help reduce that. All right, a few more seconds. Well, let's learn a little bit more about this. So I'm thrilled to introduce our next speaker. Jeff Spafford is the president and CEO of AssistRx, a leader in this area, and he'll give us a behind the scenes look at how hubs are supporting these processes and what some of the challenges are.
Thank you for the introduction, Andrew, and greetings from sunny Florida. As you heard, my name is Jeff Spafford. I'm the president and CEO of AssistRx. And AssistRx is a healthcare solutions organization based here in Orlando, Florida. And we create tech and talent solutions to help support the specialty patient journey. It is my pleasure to speak to you today about my perspectives on what the role of a specialty hub is in supporting that patient through their specialty therapy journey, and talking about the challenges that we encounter with the traditional hub model and how we here at AssistRx are addressing those challenges through our tech and talent solutions. And finally, I would like to leave with you a discussion about how we as an industry can partner together to help evolve the specialty hub model and improve upon its effectiveness in supporting that patient through their journey. In talking about the role of the specialty hub model, I think it's important to do that in the context of that patient journey and how a hub helps support each and every one of the stakeholders that is involved in that specialty therapy journey. It starts with the patient. The patient oftentimes comes to a hub and they're experiencing a wide range of emotions. They're very scared because of the news they've just received about their diagnosis. They may be angry over their situation. They may be confused about what to do next. The most important role that a hub can play is to be that patient advocate, to help support them through that process, to help inform them of their alternatives, and to piggyback them and to get them on therapy as quickly as possible. In addition to the patient, the healthcare provider also is an important stakeholder in that patient journey. A healthcare provider today has anywhere between 8 and 15 minutes to spend with that patient, and during that time, they have to diagnose the patient, they have to align on a therapy program for that patient, write any orders or prescriptions necessary to support that treatment, and answer any of the questions that the patient may have. And of course, when we talk about specialty medications, that's quite an onerous task to get done within 8 and 15 minutes. And so therefore, they need information. They need to have that information so that they can make the right decision and get that patient access to therapies quickly. The hub also interacts with the payer or the PBM because so many of these drugs that we deal with are prior auth. It is important for us to be able to support that process and understand what requirements that the patient has in order to obtain access to their medication. And so we are consumers of the information that we get from payers, and we provide that information to both the patient and the healthcare provider. The life science company's role is evolving over time as well. Historically, a life science company focused on providing new and novel therapies and bringing them to market. Today, it's important for them to focus on being good caretakers of patient populations. And that's why you see so many of the new drugs that come to market have wraparound pharma services that are focused on helping to support that patient through their journey from the point of prescription through the point of outcome. And so they've invested heavily into specialty hub programs and have evolved the model over time. And finally, the specialty pharmacy is an important stakeholder in the therapy journey. Today's specialty pharmacy works on laser-thin margins, and much of their cost is built into that upfront onboarding of the patient to therapy. They need as accurate and timely information from the hub in order to make their operations most efficient and most effective and to be able to get that patient on therapy as quickly. At the center of all of this is the specialty hub, who interacts with each and every one of those stakeholders, and that is who we are at AssistRx. Don't worry, this slide is meant to look confusing and complex, and I won't go through it in detail, but it's really meant to show you how challenging and complex the patient journey is and how it's evolved over time. The traditional specialty hub model came to market in the early 2000s, and it was really focused on helping small patient populations who needed some additional assistance. The idea was that a centralized hub could help shepherd that patient through the onboarding process quicker than if they were to go through the normal channels and leave it up to the individual stakeholders. That model has evolved over time and has become much more comprehensive. The idea is that a hub, being that quarterback, is going to be that patient advocate who's going to help perform all the necessary steps to overcome the barriers to access. It starts at the point of prescription. It includes benefits investigation. It includes initiation of the prior authorization. It can include financial counseling or coordinating financial assistance. Maybe it includes clinical counseling or ongoing compliance adherence. Oftentimes it includes collection of data and reporting of that data back to the various stakeholders, and ultimately triaging that prescription to dispense. The process or the challenge that the modern day hub has today is that as these programs have grown, the ways in which the patients were managed historically through faxes, phone calls, is becoming much more inefficient and challenging to manage on a scale. And so there's a desperate need for technology to help support that patient as they go through that patient journey. Here at AssistRx, we've taken an approach by using technology to help augment the process, to help speed the process and get that patient on therapy as quickly as possible. And we've done that by connecting all the stakeholders that are involved in that patient therapy journey through technology. And we've used that technology to empower our talent with the information that they need so that they can spend more of their time focused on talking with their patients, helping them, inform them of what their benefits are, helping them understand what the alternatives are, what programs and services are available to them, with the ultimate goal of getting that patient to initiate therapy. What we've also learned along the way is that we need to be able to support our patients and our healthcare providers with information and engage them throughout the process at specific touch points. And that means very different things depending upon what therapy that patient is being prescribed. So in order for our technology to be utilized and to be effective, we need to take a very much focused and customized approach, and that's what we do with our clients. So I would like to take a moment to compare and contrast a traditional specialty hub versus a tech-enabled hub, and share with you the differences in the performance that each one can achieve. As you can see along the top, the points of process are the same in both instances. It starts at the point of prescription, but with a manual hub, you're oftentimes receiving those specialty enrollment forms via fax, which means you have to take that fax and data input that into your hub CRM system. And in many cases, there's information that is missing or could be unclear, and that requires a manual intervention. It requires a phone call that goes back to that physician to try to get clarification, or even worse, it requires a phone call that goes to the patient. And in our experience, trying to reach a patient, it takes approximately 11 phone calls before you get a response. And as you can imagine, that results in a significant delay to therapy. In a tech-enabled hub, you can leverage technologies such as the e-prescription or the e-enrollment, which is providing that information electronically that goes directly into your CRM system so you don't encounter those delays. So it's not only getting the e-prescription, but also augmenting that e-prescription with other data that helps inform your understanding of what that patient's needs are and what their benefits are. Next, we move to the benefits investigation. In the manual process, you're oftentimes validating what the patient's coverage is via phone calls to a payer. And in my experience, it often took upwards to 3 phone calls to really understand what that patient's benefits were, because oftentimes you got a different understanding based on who you were talking to. In the tech-enabled world, again, you're augmenting the information that you're getting on that e-enrollment with other data sources to be able to validate what that patient's benefits are, to eliminate the need to make those phone calls so that you can have a discussion with the patient. Next, you could either quick start, which is triaging that patient or that referral to a specialty pharmacy for fill, or you can continue the process and focus on the prior authorization. In the manual world, again, you're filling out a paper enrollment form, and you're sending that back to the healthcare provider, hoping for completion, hoping they'll sign it and submit it to the payer, and oftentimes having to follow up with phone calls to ensure that they've done that, or to find out what the status of that prior authorization, whether it was approved, denied, you need to appeal it. In the tech-enabled world, we're able to do that electronically using powerful technologies such as EPA, where we can send tokens back to our healthcare providers for them to initiate that prior auth, where they're in real time getting a status back, and oftentimes we get that status, so it eliminates the need for phone calls and the back and forth between the healthcare provider, the hub, and the payer. And ultimately, we can triage that prescription. Again, in the manual world, that gets done via fax, and in many cases, the specialty pharmacy will have to call the healthcare provider and validate that prescription, get a new prescription before they enter it into their system. But in the tech-enabled world, we're able to triage that prescription via electronically into that directly goes into the SP pharmacy operating system, thereby reducing their cost of onboarding that patient and eliminating the need for them to data enter that into their system and speeding the time to therapy. So you can see the ultimate outcome, the difference between a manual process at the top versus the tech-enabled process at the bottom, and is quite significant. The ability to reduce the quick start from 4 to 7 days to 48 hours, or from time to a prescription to time of dispense, anywhere between 14 to 15 days to 7 days. It's quite dramatic in that tech-enabled environment. And while we have focused on using technology to enable the process, there still are a number of challenges that we face as an organization or as an industry. As I mentioned, the list of stakeholders that are involved in that patient onboarding journey is quite long and only growing. And each stakeholder has their own disparate, disconnected technology platform, and they have information that they need in order to fulfill their responsibilities, and they have information to provide back and forth. And the handoffs between the stakeholders oftentimes results in delays or missed information and creates significant problems for the patient who is trying to get access to the therapy. Next is standardization of data. We are in a data-intensive industry, and yet we are, in all transparency, bad at using data to make informed decisions. We oftentimes treat every patient the same. We offer them the same services. We don't use the information that we have to help enable the process. And in fact, we're even bad at reporting on how we're doing. And so the challenge is that each stakeholder has a different understanding or definition of what their data means. And there needs to be a standardization of that across the stakeholders in order to provide a full and comprehensive visibility into what that patient status is. One of the biggest complaints or frustrations that we hear from our healthcare providers is that when they complete that specialty enrollment form and fax that into a specialty hub, it goes into a black hole. They don't know what happens to that patient after they fax the form in. They don't know where that script ended up. They don't know if the patient initiated therapy. They don't know if the patient fell off therapy. Oftentimes, they don't know that until the patient comes back in months later for a follow-up visit. And by then, they've lost valuable time at treating the disease and hopefully helping that patient achieve their successful outcome. The goal of our platform, the goal that we all specialty hubs should try to achieve, is to provide a level set and complete visibility into what that patient status is, where they're at in the process, what barriers they're facing, and be able to have that bi-directional communication between the various stakeholders so that we can intervene much more proactively in getting that patient on therapy versus retroactively after the fact. And so when we developed our platform at AssistRx, one of our main goals was to take this agnostic approach. We understood that the true value is to connect all the stakeholders into one common platform. That's why we've built over 50 integrations and expanding that list into various partners and other stakeholders so that everybody has that one common view into what that patient status is and can intervene when necessary. The second objective we had in building out our technology solutions is to make them modular, because we know that in order to gain adoption and utilization, we have to adapt our technology to meet patients where they're at in their life flow and to meet healthcare providers where they're at in their workflow. So the ability to embed our technology solutions, whether it is with partners like Surescripts, in several of their products, or directly into the healthcare provider's EHR, or standing up patient portals that they're able to then have access to understand what their status is, or to be able to share their consent or other information that's required in order for them to get access. These are technology solutions that we're ultimately evolving and will be critical in order to shorten the amount of time it takes a patient to get access. With all these technology solutions, we have the ability to take a much more consultative approach with our clients, to sit down with them and understand what are the particular pain points that therapy may have, and to be able to bring to bear a combination of both our tech and talent solutions to best meet their needs and to drive program performance. So for example, if it's a traditional specialty product that a life science company may want to take a more white glove service approach, we have the ability to service that with our talent solutions, empowering our talent with technology so that they can spend much more time with their patients, understanding their needs and making sure that they initiate therapy. It may be a product or a patient population that's much more mobile or is looking to obtain their products at retail. And so therefore, they may be more technology oriented. They may want to have a self-service solution so that they can engage where they're at and when they want to. The ability to bring those to bear is the ultimate in helping drive performance of these types of programs. So we all know that technology can help improve the process, but it's really about how it's delivered and the information that is presented and how it's presented. These are a few of the insights that we've gained over the years and how we think about where technology can be impactful. So the first is that our healthcare providers and our patients want information at the point of care. They want to be able to understand the requirements, the needs, the next steps at the point of prescription so that they don't have to go back and revisit and rework the referrals. And so making sure that they have all the information that they need in order to make the right decision up front is critically important for us. Secondly, as patients become much more engaged in their healthcare, they are looking for tools that help them make better informed decisions. So tools that will give them understanding of what their benefits are, what the price of these products are, what their alternatives are, what programs and services are available to them, are important for them to be engaged in the process and are very effective at helping them get through the specialty patient journey and initiate therapy. And that's the goal, is to improve speed to therapy. Studies have shown that the longer it takes a patient to get on therapy, the more likely they are never to initiate therapy or at least abandon the prescription. And again, a hub is meant, the whole goal of a hub is to shorten the amount of time to therapy. And then finally, it's to be able to deliver data and analysis that break down barriers. So oftentimes in the specialty hub channel, data is used in a retrospective format to help evaluate performance, to help score the performance of stakeholders. And while that's important, what we look at data is using data to help inform our decision making so that we can proactively help patients address the barriers to access and overcome those barriers to access and initiate therapy quicker. Using data along the way and looking at alternative data sources to supplement our understanding of that patient's needs will help us take a much more personable, customizable approach to treating our patients, to helping them treat their diseases and get on therapy quickly. And so finally, I would like to talk about where the specialty hub model is headed and what we as an industry can do to help support the hub. Again, the industry is going through a transformation. We're converting from a very manual, people-intensive business to being much more tech-enabled business. The idea is let's empower our people with information that comes from our technology solutions so that they can spend much more time with patients, engaging with them, understanding their individual needs, and supporting them throughout this process. And so one of the things that we can do as an industry is really align on that patient-first mentality, understand what those patient needs are, and develop that highly customizable, personable approach to helping them achieve successful outcomes. What we also need to do is we need to use the data that we have for the ability to inform our decision-making and improve the process. We need to be able to deliver comprehensive, accurate information real time. As I mentioned, healthcare providers, patients, they want access to information so that they can make the right decision at first so they don't have to go back and readdress their needs. And finally, we need to move towards automating the administrative task of getting a patient onboarded to therapy, whether it is the prescription itself, whether it is the benefits design, prior authorization, coordinating financial systems. We need to automate that. The role of the specialty hub is evolving from being that sort of administrative caretaker, addressing all those barriers, to wanting to be that advocate that was initially meant to be, to help focus on that patient getting on therapy and keeping them on therapy, and focusing on ongoing compliance and adherence, and demonstrating their impact via the data that's collected and sharing the impact on the performance. And so with that, I will turn that back over to Andrew, and I thank you for your time, and I look forward to continuing the discussion with you.
Thank you, Jeff. You packed a lot in there in that session. Some of the things that stuck with me are how you're serving as that patient advocate, how you're straightening the line on the map, how you're taking out barriers and stops and using digital innovations, e-prescribing, electronic prior auth, enrollments, electronic eligibility to dramatically shorten that time to start therapy. Now let's do, again, a really quick poll, hear your voice in the audience. Which of these challenges are most important for us to address? All right, well, interoperability seems to be the winner here. There's been a lot of progress across the industry with interoperability, with services and organizations such as Care Equality, and we're seeing that improve. But we have a ways to go, and we'll work together to get there. So I'll have a brief break now, about 5 minutes. Come back at 2:55 Eastern Time to hear the physician panel. Thank you.